Hello everybody, Mike here at Game From Scratch. Surprisingly news-filled Friday. Normally kind of a wasteland if I'm honest about things, but today Unity released their Lightweight Rendering Pipeline 4.0.0 preview. What is this? Well, back with the release of Unity 2018.1, they released their new programmable pipeline. Basically, it means you can provide custom implemented pipelines. You can create code to basically render things however the heck you want. So if you want to increase the graphical fidelity of Unity, you can do so. If you want to make it work on very constrained hardware, you can do so. And the nice thing is they implemented two standard pipelines for you. The HD pipeline for, competing with the likes of Lumberyard, Crysis, Unreal Engine, the AAA looking games, and the lightweight render pipeline. Lightweight render pipeline is more for your processor-constrained devices, things like Android devices, mobile devices, VR, that kind of thing, or more constrained PC hardware. So lightweight render pipeline is exactly what it says, a lighter weight rendering pipeline. It's less graphical effect, less graphical fidelity, but it is getting better, as you will see in this release. So, of course, I will toss this link down below. This is the announcement of lightweight render pipeline 4.0.0. I'm not going to get really into the specifics of this one, but there are a couple things to certainly be aware of. And there is also a little bit of an issue when it comes to using this guy, and I'll walk you through enabling it in a second, because there's a couple really confusing things. So we'll look at installing the lightweight render pipeline in a second. Now, speaking of which, you need to have Unity 2018.3.0 B3 installed to use lightweight render pipeline 4.0.0. So get the newest version of Unity and you should be good to go. The newest preview version of Unity. What this particular version does is it changes the light attenuation computation to be physically based, as you can see right up here. This change means that you do not have to increase the range of your light to control attenuation. Instead, you should control the attenuation with the light intensity. Baked global illumination has changed to match the real-time attenuation. When you upgrade to lightweight render pipeline 4.0.0 preview, it is likely that you will have to upgrade your light settings as well. On top of that, there are a number of features that we're going to look at very, very briefly in the changelog. I'm not going to go through the specifics. A lot of it's just smaller tweaks, improvements, and fixes, but do be aware that existing shaders could possibly break in addition to your existing lighting setup. So, as it says right here, if you have authored custom shaders, please be sure you update your shader variants in their shader to match the new ones. Nice thing is, once they are out of preview, they will no longer do these breaking changes, so you should not have to go through this experience of having all of your code break every time you do an upgrade as things go on. They've updated the lightweight render public physically based render shader example to the 4.0 preview. Funny enough, that is not what is included when you use the default template. We'll see that in a second. You can see one of the things here is the lightweight render pipeline forward renderer, and there is a nicely illustrated graphic of how things have changed. On the left-hand side is the lightweight render pipeline's process for doing lighting on a object in the scene. On the right-hand side is the built-in forward renderer. As you can see, the lightweight render pipeline does the same thing in half the steps. So that means a lot less actual required. So you see lightweight render pipeline on the left renders GI and all real-time lighting in the same pass. Whereas here you're seeing one lighting pass, two lighting pass, three lighting pass. So that is going to result in a pretty good performance gain as a result. Another thing they've talked about here, a couple of shots from Angry Birds 2 comparing the built-in renderer and the lightweight render pipeline. And the most important part here is compared to the built-in, lightweight render pipeline renders that specific frame with about half as many draw calls. Draw calls are pretty much the biggest price you pay when it comes to using the GPU. So if you can drop your draw calls by half, you can theoretically double your frame rate. It doesn't quite work as a one-to-one mapping, but it's pretty close. Now, one thing to be aware of, there is currently an issue with the lightweight render pipeline, and that is, when we scroll down a little bit, right here, VR and lightweight render pipeline, if you are using a Daydream device, Daydream VR device, Google's virtual reality headsets, they support multi-view. Google blacklisted multi-view on these devices due to a driver issue. There was no other strategy to fall back to the standard render pipeline, so point blank, the lightweight render pipeline just does not work with Google VR devices for now. They'll just render to black. And you'll see we added a single double pass wide as the fallback to standard render pipeline in 2019.1 and may backport it to this 2018.3 release. Interesting to see what happens there. So, if you are interested in the specifics of what exactly changed in the 4.0 preview, and kind of funnily enough, You think that Unity doesn't have a lot of faith in how this particular preview is going to go, that they've already got the 4.1.0 preview ready to go in there with no detail. It's just a copy-paste error, I guarantee it. But here are the full-blown details of what is in this. There's some cool stuff here, such as instancing is now supported on trains. But a lot of it's very granular level stuff. I will throw all this down below. Do be aware of this stuff. If you've already got a Lightweight Render Pipeline 3.x project, all of these renamed stuff, that's all the stuff that is going to break in your existing shaders. There's also some changes in general, but there are a lot of renames. So just do be aware of those renames. And then we got a bunch of fixes as well, which is, always nice to see. So enough of that. Let's get into some of the quirks of installing this guy. Here is, again, the most current version of Unity. This is Unity 2018.3.0b3, at least as of writing. Eventually that will be, normal. So if you're not watching this in near real time, then just be sure you're running at least that version or higher. I'm going to go in here and we're going to pick the Lightweight Render Pipeline and make it. So you would think, because you've got the newest version, that you need to use the minimum required to support Lightweight Render Pipeline 4.0.0. When you created your project, you got a Lightweight Render Pipeline 4.0.0 project, wouldn't you? But you don't. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how you actually get up to using the Lightweight Render Pipeline 4.0.0. And then we're going to look into a small bit of idiocy that's a little bit funny. So I'm going to let this hold on. I'll be back when the project is done loading. Okay, so we have our project loaded. As you can see right here, it is obviously a Lightweight Render Pipeline project, but this again needs to be upgraded to 4.0.0. In order to do so, head on over here to Window, go to Package Manager, and it brings up the Package Manager. And what you would think you would do, as you will notice over here, Lightweight Render Pipeline 3.3.0 preview. Okay, so we're obviously going to want to come over here, grab the version, go to all versions, and all right, that isn't what we're going to do. Well, there's a bit of a hoop you got to run through, and again, this is 3.3.0 preview. Should just mention that. What you need to do is come over here to Advanced and click Show Preview Packages. So I don't know what their naming convention here was, but hey, doesn't matter. Now you will see that 4.0.0 is now an option over here. You will click that. You will click Update To. It will update to the new version. This is going to take a bit of time, downloading all the various different files required as part of the render pipeline, but that is it. That is the extent of the process, and then at this point in time, you are theoretically off to the races. Now, I do think you'll be able to download an updated version of this template from the GitHub page that is 4.0.0 ready, so you don't have to go through this particular hoop. But if you are using an existing project or you want to upgrade your existing Lightweight 3.x project to 4.0.0, that is the process. Go to Package Manager, go to Advanced, say Show Preview Packages, switch to the 4.0.0, and click the Update To button, and then watch what breaks. And that's it. So that is the new Lightweight Render Pipeline for Unity. I gotta say, one of the things I'm really impressed with Unity as of late is their update schedule. One of the big problems with Unity before is they updated at a somewhat glacial pace. Then they moved to this quarterly updates, which was pretty impressive. So, we started seeing like Unity 2017.1, 0.2.3, and now they've actually kind of packaged everything. So we're seeing updates within an update cycle. So we're seeing the render pipeline update within the 2018.3 cycle. So we're not having to wait to 2018.4 to be released to get that new update, which is pretty sweet. It's a good move on Unity, and keep them coming. Now, hopefully, eventually, we do get to the point where they stop breaking everything as they do this, but hey, that's the cost of being on the cutting edge. So that is the Lightweight Render Pipeline for Unity. Are you already using it? If so, let me know how your upgrade process went. Hopefully, you guys found this somewhat useful. Yeah, that's it. Talk to you all later. Goodbye.